On Monday morning, the sky above Silverport was the color of cold steel. In the private hangar of Lumière Dynamics, engineers in white coats rushed around a massive drone, a $20 million artificial intelligence prototype. But the air did not grow heavy because of the engines. It was because of the sound of Amelia Cross's heels striking the metal floor. The 32-year-old CEO, her blonde hair pulled tight, face as sharp as a blade, barked, "The test flight is cancelled. Where's my chief engineer?" No one dared to answer. But trembling voice finally spoke. "Ma'am, he was taken to the hospital. Hand injury." Amelia slammed a folder onto the metal table. "What do you mean? We have investors waiting out there for a live demo. Does he think Lumière Dynamics is some kind of joke?" The room grew thick with silence. Ryan, her trusted assistant, spoke softly. "Perhaps we should postpone, ma'am." "No," Amelia said coldly. "We do not cancel. Not ever. I will not let anyone see me fail." And then, cutting through her fury, came a calm, low voice from the doorway. "If you allow me, I can fly that drone." Everyone turned. A black man stood there, wearing a grease-stained jumpsuit, old worn boots, his face weathered and his beard thick enough to hide a lifetime. He stood tall, eyes steady. Ryan scoffed. "Who are you? Security? This is not a place to gamble your luck, buddy." Amelia turned, one eyebrow raised. "You think this is a game? That drone costs more than your entire life." The silence was absolute, but the man did not flinch. He simply said quietly, "You ask what I think. I think it is just a machine, and I know how to make it fly." Laughter broke out among the engineers. Clara, the female assistant, whispered, "Oh my God, he actually believes he can do it." Amelia smirked, the smirk of someone certain she would win. "All right, if you can make that drone fly along the full course correctly." "I will." She paused, looking him up and down. "I will sign you as my new chief engineer. Maybe even," she tilted her head with a mocking grin, "marry you, if you want." The laughter grew louder. But Eli Carter, the black worker, did not laugh. He just nodded once. "Deal." And in that moment, under the scornful stares of everyone, what began as a joke turned into the start of something that would change everything. A challenge that would make the man they all looked down on, the one they would one day bow to. His name was Eli Carter, 35 years old. To the high-class engineers of Lumière Dynamics, he was just the black mechanic, a man with oil-stained hands and a torn work shirt. But if you looked closer, you would see something in his eyes that no one else there had, a quiet calm, the kind that comes from being too familiar with contempt. He lived in the southern district of Silverport, a place where the air smelled of smoke and the hum of compressors formed a song of poverty. Every morning, Eli walked across the steel bridge leading toward the tech district, watching the glass towers that people called the light of the future. And he was only the shadow left behind. People said Silverport was a symbol of progress, but anyone who lived there long enough knew he was split in two worlds. On one side, the Lumière district, glowing with lights and drones soaring like silver birds. On the other, the industrial zone, dark and crowded, filled with black workers, immigrants, and the forgotten hands of the old economy. Eli rarely spoke about himself. People only knew he had once been a soldier, a man with sharp observation and hands precise enough to rebuild what others gave up on. Those who worked with him often said, "Carter does not look like someone who lost hope. He looks like someone who already knows he is coming back." And Amelia Cross, 32, the youngest CEO in Lumière's history. Born into privilege, daughter of Richard Cross, the company's founder. From childhood, she had learned what it felt like to have people bow to her. When her father stepped down to become an advisor, Amelia turned Lumière Dynamics into the world's leading empire of intelligent drones. But power also made her believe she could not be defeated. She did not hate the poor. She simply saw them as invisible. People her eyes could look through, as if they did not exist at all. Beside Amelia were her two loyal aides. Ryan, sharp-tongued, always turning arrogance into upper-class entertainment. And Clara, cautious, smart, but always with a flicker of fear in her eyes when standing near her boss. When Eli walked into their polished white world, a black man standing in the glass hall, every stare cut into him like a blade. In the perfect picture of Lumière Dynamics, his presence was a black ink stain on white silk, unwanted, yet impossible to erase. And from that very moment, the clash between class and race began. Quiet, restrained, but carrying a force no one could foresee. They did not yet know that the man they looked down on was the one who had once saved this very company from destruction 3 years ago. Before the laughter faded, Eli stepped closer to the experimental drone, a colossal machine with a matte silver alloy body and wings that seemed to stretch toward the entire Silverport sky. No one gave him instructions. No one told him what to do. He glanced at the control panel once and then bent over quietly. His fingers brushed across the start sequence like they had done it 1,000 times before. The screen flashed with lines of red error codes, the same codes that had made the chief engineer cancel the test. Eli did not panic. He pressed and held a sequence of auxiliary keys, then typed in a string of commands by hand. The sound of shifting mechanics filled the air, click, click, and then silence. A thin blue light pulsed along the drone's body. Ryan frowned and scoffed. Does he even know what he is doing? Clara held her breath. Amelia stood still, arms crossed, her expression a mix of contempt and curiosity. Then came a low, rising hum. The drone's wings unfolded. The jet engines came to life, soft and steady. The air trembled gently like ripples on water. And in a single motion, the drone lifted off. It did not wobble or drift. It flew smooth, precise, terrifyingly perfect. On the control screen, the flight path appeared. A 180-degree loop, then a return to the starting point. Eli did not even look at the screen. He simply raised his head, eyes following the machine against the silver sky. It descended gently, landing like a feather touching the surface of a lake. No error, no vibration. The entire test field froze. Ryan's jaw dropped. Clara pressed her hand to her chest. And Amelia could not speak. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. How did you do that? No one outside the design team knows the secondary startup code for this model. Eli looked at her, calm but with eyes deep as the ocean. Sometimes, the one who understands a machine best is not the person who built it, but the one who fixed it when it was about to crash. The words struck her still. Something in that voice, familiar, buried deep, echoed inside her mind like a memory she had tried to erase. Ryan tried to break the silence. She is not kidding, he actually did it. Amelia inhaled sharply, trying to mask her confusion, her tone turning cold again. I do not know where you learned those tricks, but I want to know who you really are. Eli did not answer immediately. He gave a faint smile and said slowly, from a place you never want to remember. The words were quiet, but they hit like thunder in clear skies. They cracked the flawless world of Amelia Cross wide open. And for the first time, everyone realized this was no longer a game. A buried secret was about to rise, one powerful enough to destroy everything. After the drone landed perfectly, Amelia still could not take her eyes off the data screen. Every number told the same thing. Eli Carter was not an amateur. But why, in all of Silverport's personnel records, was there no trace of him? That afternoon, while Eli was inspecting the control unit, Amelia leaned toward Ryan and whispered, "Run everything on that man for me. I want to know who he is, where he studied, what he has done." Ryan nodded. 3 hours later he returned, his face ashen. "There is no data, ma'am, no license, no engineering degrees on record, no bank accounts. It is as if he did not exist before 2022. Amelia frowned. Impossible. Ryan swallowed hard. If he did, someone scrubbed every trace. Do you know anyone skilled enough to do that? A moment of silence fell. Amelia looked at Eli, who was carefully wiping oil from the drone's body. his expression calm as if he already knew what was happening. She stepped closer, her voice low. "Who are you? Where did you study? Who sent you here?" Eli answered quietly, still not looking up. "You once knew me, you just do not remember." The words made Amelia's heart skip. Suddenly, memories from 3 years ago rushed back like wind carrying ash. Flashback. 3 years earlier, when she was deputy director, Amelia had been involved in a test project for a medical rescue drone. The lead at that time was Lieutenant Eli Carter, the military engineer Lumière had brought in for his remarkable skill in battlefield drone control. He had designed the stabilization module that became the foundation for Lumière's rise into a billion-dollar company. During the multiple vehicle accident in the Eastern Residential District, the company's rescue drones malfunctioned. Amelia was lightly injured in the blast and trapped inside a half-collapsed building. From the control center, she sent one order to Elias. "Send the drone to rescue me first. I am hurt." Elias refused. He diverted the drone to the neighboring building, where a group of children were trapped in flames. Because of that decision, 6 children survived. Amelia was rescued 20 minutes later and suffered only minor burns, but she never forgave him. Immediately after the incident, Elias was accused of unauthorized course change causing rescue delays, fired, stripped of his professional license, and erased from every internal Lumière document. The media never learned the truth because the corporation paid for silence with money and influence. Eli, or rather Eli Carter, lost everything. His family fell apart, his house was seized, his honor buried. He vanished from Silverport. Back in the present, Eli stood still in the test yard, the late sun painting his strong face. He spoke softly, as if to no one in particular. "I once believed Lumière saved people, but perhaps it only saves those it deems worth saving." No one answered. Amelia felt a chill. For the first time, she did not know how to look at Eli with contempt, with fear, or with guilt. She asked in a hoarse voice, "Did you come back only for revenge?" Eli looked up. "No, I came back to save what you destroyed, the faith of those who once believed in justice." Behind him, a woman appeared, Lena Brooks, a former journalist who had been fired by Lumière for exposing bribed safety reports. She handed Eli a thick file of documents and said quietly, "Now it is time to show them the truth." Sunset poured over the test field. Eli's and Amelia's shadows stretched long across the concrete, one bearing the shape of guilt, the other the silhouette of justice ready to rise. The next morning the sky over Silverport was clear, but the air inside the Lumière building felt leaden. The successful drone demo from the day before had leaked out and everyone was talking about the mysterious worker who had forced the CEO to take notice. Amelia sat in her glass office trying to appear calm. Deep down she knew an undercurrent was coming. Eli Carter walked in carrying a small silver voice recorder. He placed it on her desk as if it were nothing more than an ordinary object. "Do you remember your promise, Amelia Cross?" Amelia raised an eyebrow, her voice sharp. "Are you talking about last night? I did not think a joke could become a legal term." Eli did not respond. He pressed play. Her voice filled the room, clear and confident. "If you make that drone fly the full course, I will marry you if you want." Ryan stood frozen. Clara covered her mouth. Eli looked at Amelia, his eyes no longer full of hatred, only the steady resolve of someone who had stepped beyond pain. "No, I do not need you to keep that promise. I need you to keep responsibility." He opened the file Lena Brooks had given him, pages of forged seals, bribery records, and supplier contracts for substandard drones that Amelia had signed. "You did not just lie, you stole the opportunities of honest engineers and perhaps even lives." Amelia jumped up and shouted, "What are you going to do? Blackmail me?" Eli answered calmly, "No. I only want justice to fly, this time without being guided." He left the room and the recorder kept playing, preserving her threats, her mockery, and her admission of wrongdoing from the first test. Outside, Lena Brooks was ready. A few hours later, the broadcasts exploded. CEO Amelia Cross accused of knowingly using unapproved equipment, endangering lives, evidence provided by former engineer Eli Carter. Lumière Dynamics stock plummeted, investors fled, the board convened an emergency meeting and Richard Cross, her father, announced he was stripping his daughter of all executive powers. That night on television, Eli was shown not in a worker's jumpsuit but in his old uniform. Medals on his chest, his voice was steady and warm. "I am not doing this for revenge. I am reclaiming justice for the engineers who were silenced for speaking the truth. The truth, even when buried, finds a way to rise." Amelia sat alone in the dark, watching footage of Eli flanked by young engineers applauding. Her phone rang. It was Eli. His voice was calm, the same as ever. "You once taught me a lesson about power. Now I will return one about justice." Amelia asked softly, trembling, "Did you plan all of this?" Eli smiled, looking toward the sky where drones circled in the late light. "No, I only planned so that the truth could fly higher than arrogance." 6 months later, the Silverport sky glittered again with drones, but this time they did not carry the Lumière logo. In the new test field, Eli Carter stood among a team of young engineers, many black, many veterans, many who had been pushed out of the system for having the wrong background. Pinned to his chest was a nameplate that read Carter Robotics, Wings of Justice. From the settlement he won against Lumière Dynamics, Eli used the money to create the Wings of Justice Fund to support those who had been fired or discriminated against because of race, origin, or class. The media called him the man who taught justice to fly. Across Silverport, Amelia Cross sat in a modest workshop wearing a gray work shirt, oiling the wing of a rescue drone. She was no longer a CEO, with no private jet or secretary. For the first time in years her hands were truly working. She was not fixing people, she was learning how to repair things. One evening while eating a late meal in the workshop, she glanced up at a small TV mounted on the wall. Eli and his team were live on air, piloting rescue drones in a wildfire. Eli smiled brightly, holding a microphone amid the smoke. "When someone laughs at your dream, they are only revealing their fear of the light you carry." Amelia bowed her head and a tear fell onto the cold metal floor. Perhaps for the first time in her life, she understood. Real power is not authority but the courage to speak the truth. Carter Robotics drone lifted into the sky, the words printed in white along its side. "Justice does not need wings. It learns to fly from pain." If you believe justice can rise above prejudice, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and let the world see that the light of truth always finds its way back to the sky.